Confidential documents from a law firm in Panama reveals how state leaders and the rich hid assets.
The Ceylon Electricity Board suspicious over purchasing electricity from private power plants.
Indian nationals confess of donating kidneys.
T20 World Cup winning Windies captain blames the West Indies Cricket Board.
Hello there, very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this edition of Primetime News. We're coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Bringing you the news tonight, I am Joel Outsgood and joined with me is my co-anchor, Florin Rajan. Good evening, Flo.
Good evening, Joel, and a very good evening to all our viewers. Let's start off with a look at our stories for tonight.
Well, some splendid entertainment from the Windies over there. Meanwhile, appearing on the Newsline program this morning, former chairman of the selection committee of Sri Lanka cricket, Kapila Vijayagunawardena, spoke on the selection process for the just concluded ICC World T20.
At 11:45 in the night on the 7th, I received a call saying that that we have been removed from the selection committee and that the rest of my colleagues will be notified the following morning. But since then we have not heard anything in writing or verbally. As I have explained very clearly, there were various attempts, both direct and indirect, to interfere with the choices that we had made in preparation for the World Cup squad. And it was when they could not get their wishes fulfilled through our committee that they decided to haul us out and get another committee to stand in to rubber stamp what they wanted done. There is no tradition nor a legal basis on which you can appoint a selection committee for 40 days. It's always a tenure of 1 year or 2 years, whichever the case may be. But the fact that they've tread down this path clearly shows that there were vested interests involved in the decision-making process.
Now, what do you mean? No, you say outside interference, it's really the cricket board interference. We didn't interfere.
What I meant was external forces within the cricketing fraternity.
I mean, let's be direct. I mean, you're talking of the president of the cricket board and the board members?
Yes, that is what I meant.
The Panama Papers, a staggering trove of leaked documents from the Panamanian law firm Mossack Fonseca, has revealed how the rich and powerful use tax havens to hide their wealth.
Well, now, world leaders, current and former, are among the people implicated through the leaked documents, including prominent celebrities. As the world comes to terms with the startling nature of the revelations, politicians and analysts in Sri Lanka have stressed the need for greater oversight.
11 million leaked files of Panamanian law firm Mossack Fonseca reveal the offshore holdings of 140 politicians and public officials around the world. Current and former world leaders in the data include Prime Ministers of Iceland and Pakistan and the President of Ukraine and the King of Saudi Arabia. More than 214,000 offshore entities appear in the leak, connected to people in more than 200 countries and territories. A massive leak of documents exposes the offshore holdings of 12 current and former world leaders and reveals how associates of Russian President Vladimir Putin secretly shuffled as much as $2 billion through banks and shadow companies. The leak also provides details of the hidden financial dealings of 128 more politicians and public officials around the world. World leaders who have embraced anti-corruption platforms feature in the leaked documents. The files reveal offshore companies linked to the family of China's top leader Xi Jinping, as well as Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. The files also contain new details of offshore dealings by the late father of British Prime Minister David Cameron, a leader in the push for tax haven reform. According to Indian media reports, the documents also cite the alleged involvement of famous Indian celebrities such as Amitabh Bachchan and Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. But the documents show that banks, law firms and other offshore players have often failed to follow legal requirements, that they make sure that their clients are not involved in criminal enterprises, tax dodging or political corruption. In some instances, the files show offshore middlemen have protected themselves and their clients by concealing suspect transactions or manipulating official records. The leaked data covers nearly 40 years from 1977 through the end of 2015. In a written response to questions from ICIJ and its media partners, the firm said it, quote, does not foster or promote illegal acts. Your allegations that we provide shareholders with structures supposedly designed to hide the identity of the real owners are completely unsupported and false, unquote.
These persons have hidden away 1/3 of the income generated by 7 billion people of the population in the world. It was revealed that $31 trillion of such monies has been hidden. This is an extremely serious situation. Some people, when they get power, they get an idea that they could do whatever they want and however they please. Change laws the way they please, earn money the way they please, and hide money in various parts of the world. Certain crimes could not be traced. The wealth of certain autocratic rulers will never be exposed. But these persons, their families and their close associates know in their hearts what they have done to the country.
We don't know how many Asian heads of states may be named and people connected with it. As you know, in Sri Lanka, the FCID has made many inquiries. They are also probing investigations still internationally. The Anti-Bribery Commission has more than 1,000 files, but these cases have still not come into the Sri Lankan courts. The Sri Lankan public are demanding justice. They want the law to apply to everybody equally. I think what we will hear tonight from the Panorama report, and we might know whether there is information whether Sri Lankan nationals are actually involved in the crimes that will be revealed tonight.
New investigation by the Consortium of Investigative Journalists reveals details of wealth accumulated by 12 world leaders past and present. Significant amounts of monies are involved, and in one case, over $2 billion is said to have been shuffled around the world through secretive companies and banks. In this context, it is essential that this government of the Yapalane government investigates also as to whether any of its politicians, past or present, have been involved in money laundering and handling monies offshore.
On to our developing story for tonight. Various parties have voiced suspicions regarding the Ceylon Electricity Board's decision to call tenders to purchase electricity from private power plants, citing urgent need. They believe that there is no cause at present to resort to such a measure. Cabinet granted approval last week for the purchase of electricity. The CEB accordingly published a tender notice on the 1st of this month to purchase 55 megawatts of power for urgent needs. As per the tender notice, bids must be submitted prior to the 8th of March.
Who can make an order at a time like this? This is a serious question. What happened suddenly? If the question arose with regard to a transformer, a question arises as to why a power plant is being purchased without addressing the transformer issue. There is a huge doubt regarding this in the field. Through the completion of a power plant in 3 weeks, there will only be an expensive and an unfavorable solution to the country.
As per the tender, successful bidders would be required to supply the required power by the 28th of April.
අප්‍රේල් 28 පද්ධතියට විදුලිය දෙන්න පටන් ගන්න ඕන. ජූලි 28 වෙනකොට
they must supply electricity to the grid by the 28th of April, but the agreement will end by the 28th of June. It will be over. What is the time period we are obtaining power as an immediate measure? It is during the time period that we experience the southwest monsoonal winds and rains. How can there be an immediate requirement during a time like this? This cannot be justified in any way. There is a question whether there was a technical fraud that took place. There are privately owned power generators even now that are used for the generation of power during emergencies. When you collect all of these, there is approximately 300 megawatts. But the deficit here is 55 megawatts. If there is a sudden short-term problem here, that can be resolved if these power sources are switched on once again.
බලාගාරය යලි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා උපරිම ධාරිතාවෙන් අරගත්තොත් අපිට මේ ප්‍රශ්නයට ෂණික කෙටිකාලීන ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ විසඳුම ලබා ගන්නට පුළුවන්.
The CEB Engineers Union says that they do not approve of this step either. However, they point out that if the government is to provide an uninterrupted power supply, authorities will be left with no alternative but to purchase electricity from private power plants.
This is very suspicious. We are aware that in the past, the mafia of private thermal power plant owners and a class of powerful officials entangled with the CEB carried out such transactions. The crisis that has arisen as a result of the CEB's lack of vision and planning has increased demand for this mafia, which wishes to prolong the crisis. In the end, the burden of the losses incurred will be placed on the ordinary people of this country. This government has commenced working to obtain power from the private sector. They have said that they are even prepared to pay an enormous sum of money to the private sector. How much is this? As per the earlier agreements, the minimum charge is 17 rupees per unit and the maximum 67 rupees per unit. I fear that when such agreements are signed, the burden falls on the ordinary, impoverished people. They will have to pay. The water levels of our reservoirs have receded far more than we expected. The drought is one reason. Improper water management is another reason. Considering the continued functioning of hydropower plants, the cabinet decided to call for tenders for 55 megawatts of urgently required electricity at competitive pricing. This matter is being conducted with transparency. We will not allow any act of fraud to occur through this.
Another 3 Sri Lankan nationals have been arrested in connection with the discovery of a stock of heroin from the seas off the south of the island. 17 suspects, including foreign nationals, have been arrested in connection with the incident thus far.
The haul of heroin was discovered in the southern seas by the Police Narcotics Bureau with the assistance of the Navy. Preliminary details about the racket came to light following investigations undertaken by the Navagamo Police OIC, Manjula Kumara Vadu, who acted on a tip-off received by a police officer of the Northern Province during the first week of March. An operation to arrest the suspects was spearheaded by the Police Narcotics Bureau with the assistance of the Navy. The vessel carrying heroin, which neared the Sri Lankan shores after 10 days of travel from Iran to Pakistan, came under investigation following a tip-off received to the Police Narcotics Bureau. 10 Iranians and a Pakistani national who were aboard the vessel carrying 110 kilograms of heroin were arrested by the Navy. The market value of the discovered heroin was pegged at over 1.1 billion rupees. Another team of the Police Narcotics Bureau also raided a guest house in Dungalpitiya, Negombo, which was operated as a headquarters for the drug racket. An Indian and a Singaporean national who attempted to flee the site was arrested at the Jala interchange of the Katnayaka Expressway, while another Pakistani national was arrested at the guest house. The arrested Pakistani national is the alleged leader of this drug racket operated from Sri Lanka. The Police Narcotics Bureau, during further investigations, arrested Mohammad Mubaz Mohammed, a resident of Kalubowil in Dehiwala at the Bandar Naika International Airport today. The suspect was arrested on his arrival at the BIA from India. Preliminary investigations have revealed that he assumed the role of the main distributor in Sri Lanka for the heroin received from the Pakistani national who was arrested in Negombo. 2 other suspects who are residents of Negombo surrendered to the Police Narcotics Bureau through a lawyer. The police said that the 2 arrested suspects had provided facilities for the 3 foreign nationals who were arrested by the police in Negombo. Operations are underway in search of others who are connected to the drug racket.
Samantha Kumara, alias Velesuda, who is currently serving a death sentence after being convicted for his involvement in a drug racket, was produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court today.
7 suspects, including Samantha Kumar alias Velesuda, were produced before Colombo Chief Magistrate Gihan Pilapitiya for the hearing of a case filed under the Money Laundering Act. At the hearing, the Chief Magistrate ordered that the reports on the investigations carried out into the incident be submitted to court on the 10th of June. Until such time, the magistrate ordered for the suspects to be further remanded. The 8 Indian nationals who were arrested in Sri Lanka for donating their kidneys confessed to the act when the case was taken up at the Colombo Magistrates Court today.
When the case was taken up before the Colombo magistrate Gihan Pilapitiya today, lawyers appearing for the Indian nationals said that the suspects had donated their kidneys in a legal manner and therefore had not committed a wrong. They have been produced before the law for violating immigration and immigration laws. This remains as they are charged. The police have stated that they are investigating the matter. All operations were conducted within Sri Lanka during the year 2013, 2014 and 2015. None of the operations were conducted recently. All of them have stated that the operations were conducted subsequent to obtaining the signature of the Director General of Health, Dr. Mahipala Herath. They possess these certified documents. The Indian nationals were remanded until the 18th of this month.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that instead of following the insults, slander and criticisms levelled against him, he will dedicate himself to fulfill the responsibilities entrusted to him. The president made this statement while addressing an event held in Haggala this morning.
The newly constructed Vahalkada at the Sri Sankakiri Vihara in Haggala was declared open under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena today. A large group including the Mahasangha and several ministers and public representatives were present for the occasion. The Venerable Thera in his sermon asked if there is any other country in the world as this that has the freedom to criticize and find fault of the head of state. So if all of us very patiently and indifferently look at the problems we have in the country today in comparison with other countries in the world, the problems which are considered and spoken of as major problems by certain persons in the country are actually problems which can be resolved. So in the process of resolving these matters, it is the Venerable Theras who should take the initiative to build peace and harmony among all communities in the country and build this nation as one people.
ගමේ පන්සලේ ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ මේ දවස්වල මේ ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව ගැන
As of late, various views are being expressed regarding the country's national security. When the 30-year war was ended, it was you who were serving as the Minister of Defence. Just because a few explosives were found in Jaffna, this is being portrayed as a major incident in an attempt to brainwash the public. This is normal. Explosive items would definitely emerge after a 30-year war. But we should know within ourselves to have faith in the country's president, who is the defence minister. He is the head of the defence council. So we have faith that he will take the decision on safeguarding the country's security, sovereignty and unitary state.
අපගේ ඒකීභාවය ආරක්ෂා කිරීමට එතුමාගේ තීරණ ගනී කියලා.
The commissioning parade for the passing out of 44 midshipmen of the Sri Lankan Navy as commissioned naval officers was held yesterday.
The event was held at the Naval and Maritime Academy in Trincomalee under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. When the powerful navies of other Asian nations come together when situations arise, we must join them too, especially when it comes to protecting the sea route from the Maldives to the Malacca Strait. It is our duty to join in these security operations. Historically, trade across the Bay of Bengal has come our way. In the next decade, we must obtain new ships and new aircraft and focus on this task. The Indian Ocean will become an important location in international politics in the coming decades, and we have been important. Given our location in the center of the ocean, no matter what changed in the past 2,000 to 3,000 years, we need to protect our position, and the Sri Lankan Navy has a great responsibility in doing this.
Convening a media briefing today, MP Vasudeva Nanakaru responded to the statement made by the Prime Minister.
Now, this is a news story. While the Sri Lankan Navy themselves does not have the required naval power to protect Sri Lanka's waters, the Sri Lankan Navy is interested in taking up the responsibility of safeguarding sea routes in international waters. The Prime Minister says that the necessary equipment, ships and helicopters to serve this purpose will be provided to the Sri Lankan Navy. Now, this is a rather suspicious factor. We see this statement as the beginning of a program to obtain military aid for the autocratic interests of the United States.
The manpower officers who are attached to the Ceylon Electricity Board as billing officers continued their hunger strike for the 6th day today. The protesters demand that they be made permanent employees of the CEB.
The hunger strike urging the authorities to appoint them as permanent billing officers of the Ceylon Electricity Board continued near the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy today. The Billing Officers Association of the CEB noted that although over 2,000 manpower officers were granted permanent positions as billing officers previously, 1,400 manpower officers were denied the opportunity. The minister says that it has only been 6 months since he was appointed and that he has already provided appointments for 2,300 persons. He promised that others will also be provided with appointments. However, none of them were included in the 2,300. None of them were provided the appointments. This has hampered distribution of bills to many parts of the country. It is a lie that ones who are unqualified are left out. It was these persons who have been distributing electricity bills to houses over the years. However, the CEB trade union is of a different view.
It is unfair for them to take to the streets with their demands at a time when the CEB is in the midst of a controversy, because these employees are still working at the CEB. A certain trade union is being used as a scapegoat to engage in a massive hunger strike opposite the ministry. This hunger strike is sponsored by a person in the CEB Billing Officers Association, who is an associate of the Deputy Minister and who is vying to contest at the upcoming local government elections from Panadura.
When Newsfirst made inquiries from the Deputy Minister of Power and Renewable Energy, he assured that permanent appointment letters will be provided as promised. The Deputy Minister further noted that issues surrounding eligibility and opposition to the matter has given cause to the complexity of the problem.
Well, that's a wrap of primetime news here at News First. For the News First team, I am Florine Rajendran.
And I'm Joel Outscoot. Thank you for stopping by. Have yourself a great evening ahead. Take care. Good night.